Okay, now we are actually live. So, welcome, Floris. Welcome to the Joy of Life stage. I wanted to you really quick introduce myself, even though we already had a little chat. So, my name is Simon. I will be your host today. Together with the audience, we will be having a great session of almost an hour long about the power of play, which you are an expert in, actually. So, I already saw that you listed some of the advantages and powers of playfulness in the description of this talk, which include that it makes people more charming, more open, and more positive, and also boosting flexibility and creativity. So it all sounds very great, but I was really wondering how we achieve this goal. So how do we become more playful in our daily lives, and also why should we try to reach for this? And I have a hunch that you might be able to answer this question.
Well, I'm going to give my opinion, which other people may disagree with, and this is the fun of play. I don't mind. We need people who are awesome at structuring the world, structuring processes, etc. And we need people who break out of those structures and try to liberate us from the structures. Sometimes to improve them, sometimes to destroy them so we can have new and better structures. So that's a dance. It's a dance of creating things and destroying things. Now, if that dance dies, humanity dies. If we stop improving ourselves, we fall into sleep. It gets boring. If we only destroy things to make it better, nobody will feel safe. So we need to have people who care for safety, and we need people who play. And within any human, we also need the both sides. And this is a problem because currently, so I will answer your question later, because I think first thing is many people think play is not so serious. Mm-hmm. The opposite of play, and many experts around the world say this, is depression. And I would also include apathy. If you are apathic about things or depressed, you're not playing. And I also would say seriousness is an opposite, in the sense of overly seriousness is fanatism. Terrorists don't play. They're so fucked up about their, and can I use the word fuck?
You're allowed. It's allowed.
Okay. They're to take things way too serious. Also, the people who in the Netherlands currently are shouting, our freedom is taken away because of the corona. They lack a kind of, I would say, flexibility. Oh, now this is the situation. Oh yeah, I can move with that. You know, there's, I once walked along a protest, and I said to some of the people, I'm now going to enjoy my unfreedom on a terrace of my own choice. So, how unfree are we actually? There's more the idea that we are unfree or things are taken away. And of course, our biological being wants to hug, cuddle, kiss people, be close to people, etc. And that's indeed a problem. So here I agree with the protesters also. So to say there is one ultimate truth is not true. And by being playful, we can shift to one truth or another whenever situation asks for it. And that makes you flexible. Now, currently, people are saying there's a new virus on the rise, and that's the virus of play deprivation. So all school shooters or mass murderers apparently have had play deprivation because they can't take things not seriously. It means that young people often lack flexibility and social skills because there is online game play, and then sometimes great teamwork building happens also in shooters, like teams of shooters play together a game against other teams. That there's a flexibility in that. But still, if the body is not really involved, like in tree climbing, how often have you climbed a tree in your life? I bet, and the chance is very high, that I climbed in each year of my youth until 16. I climbed more in a tree every year of that life than you in your whole life. And that's
I
worrying
agree. Yeah.
because we're biological beings with a body. And if you apply this also then to later in life, I once met a manager who was crying at my desk. And he says, Floris, what's the problem? I use all the theory I learned at university and they're not doing what I want my employees. How's that possible? So this guy had learned such an amazing amount of knowledge, but no social life.
Right.
So that's why in students, when you're students, social life and all the fucked up processes and dealings in the student unions or student groups, those are where you learn your social skills. They are essential. You try things, you make mistakes, you get too drunk, you learn how to stick within your borders mostly. Some become alcoholics and then career is over before it started. So play is incremental to social skill training. It's actually how nature invented learning. We are mammals, and all mammals learn through play. Now, schools have started to destroy playfulness because if I can't measure all the things that I learned when I play at the same time. So if like we would play, I'm the king and you are my servant. Right. Now, a lot of things are happening at the same time. Or even in a game of tag, a lot of things are happening at the same time. In a game of tag, you learn motoric skills, you learn to hunt, you learn to be able to deal with losing, you learn how to arrange with other people to make something happen. And often children improve the rules of tag while playing to keep it interesting for everybody. That's important negotiation skills. So all those things are happening at the same time. What does school do? Sit down. This is the list you need to learn. Here's the list. Go learn the list. Right. And then tomorrow we test if you have learned the list. Now, being able to give the right answer doesn't mean you're playful or you have really learned anything, because we just have found out you can be compliant to what the norm is we set.
Do you know where this comes from, actually? Because I've been wondering the same thing. I've been reading and I read books that describe like...
There are three important reasons.
Okay.
Here, this is a challenge for myself because I know two, and the third will come when I'm talking. So
all right.
I put a challenge for myself.
Let's see.
So the first reason is school is not arranged to get you to learn to the max. It's arranged to be able to measure progress to the max.
Right.
Hence all the testing. But what have you learned after 1,000 tests all through your career? That there's one right answer. You have learned that you must be able to provide the answer that's requested of you. Now, if you walk into a bar and want to find a date, is there one right answer? No, there's dozens of right answers and millions of ways to fuck it up. So that's life. That also goes with business creation. There is not one formula for if you do this and this and this, your business will shine like a diamond. No, that doesn't happen. It's trial and error, because every business is different, because you're different. So once again, here we need to be playful and see, is it working? Not. If not, what can we improve? Let's tweak here, let's tweak there until the machine is running. Or you find out it's a bad idea and you give it up. Second reason why schools are organized like this is like in the 1920s, I think was the high point of that. Industries needed workers. So even the whole difficult application of education is to have you do a lot of boring tests. So that if you go to work in a factory, you can do a lot of boring tests for a long time. and people who fail at that don't get jobs in factories because they're not good for the industry.
Right, a historical reason.
Because amazing talents are lost because they're not good worker material. But I remember in the Netherlands, you have three school systems. MAVO, that's the lowest. HAVO and VWO, Atheneum, that, the Latin name that says this is the highest. But many of the lower level kids are way more creative, way more initiative, way more fun. But they are told they're stupid, and that's a sad mistake, because they think they don't work so well in academic situation. So here we see, and the third reason is also that the government, of course, wants you to be socialize you. So schools socialize you to behave to the norms of society. Now, for a big part, I agree with that. We need to be prepared for our own society. But currently, the tribal thinking of we need to fit in our society, and to have young people your age think, I want a big career in a big corporation, is actually what's killing the planet. So let's go there too. Extinction Rebellion is pushing alarm buttons, and many other organizations and people too, and countless of scientists are saying our growth industry with the infinite growth model is suicide for our human civilization. And currently we are in a safe little bubble in the Netherlands, especially in the Western civilization. So we don't feel yet as much the consequences. And our biological system hates it to react on consequences we can't see or experience yet. That's why in the United States, the murder of George Floyd, when you see a cop actually kill a guy for no reason at all, just because he's an asshole, then our body system goes, injustice, we need to act.
Right.
But the amount of forest disappearing every day, and the amount of species, 200 species a day disappearing from the planet forever, is a way bigger issue. And we don't know how to react to that. So we also need more playful people who have heightened, I would say, intuition. So one of the other things that play gives you is intuition, where you feel, now this is not right what's happening here. I've done big management games where we played games with bankers. So some bankers have no self-defense, in a self-defense against, let me pretend that I now put my hand on your shoulder, a little bit around your shoulder in the wrong way, and say, come on, Simon, you can do this for me. And then I breathe a little bit nasty in your face. And this actually happens a lot in business. And then you say, okay, I'll do it, because then you're free from my
from the uncomfortable spot. Yeah.
Yeah, because if you resist, bad for your business, bad for your career. And if you don't resist, you'll be my slave. So to be playful then is a way out. This is also interesting from play. If you are under stress or in a stressful situation, we all are most likely to react with either freeze, fight, or flight. Now, in that choice, how to get out of that pattern? So some people, you seem not the fight person. That's the person when I say something young, immediately, oh yeah, and then you have the flight person. Well, okay, I don't want this, I'm off. Or the freeze person. Oh, yeah, that's deep in my system. I'm a freeze person. So this is dangerous even on the street, because I'm cycling and suddenly there's a car and my instinct is on the brakes. But sometimes I have to cycle harder to be not in front of the car. So biology loves it to have these three systems, because and that's, we often forget how deeply these patterns are and how much we're determined by them, and how if we don't play enough, never can become free of these patterns. Because I have been in a situation where I see a bus coming to me, and I know I'm dead in a few seconds if I don't move. And my freeze reaction is the brakes, and I have to switch from freeze reaction, to I need to cycle as fast as I can right now, otherwise I'm dead. So that takes alertness in the brain.
Is it something you can train? Is it a skill, you think?
Yeah, that's something you can train. And some people have natural skills in that, but others, they tested on rats. So this is a test they did on rats. One group of rats gets space to play, and the other group of rats didn't get space to play. Mm-hmm. Now, what happens if they release the rats in a space where there was a cat? So danger. Now, the rats who hadn't learned how to play, when attacked in the room by the cat, they would flee to a dark corner or a place where the cat couldn't reach, and they die there. And why did they die there? Because they didn't know how to change the system. The rats who knew how to play would switch to, okay, let's try. Is it safe again? Let's switch to a new system. And we see it also among humans. Some humans, they get one smack in the face on the street and they have street anxiety for the rest of their lives. Other people have been in battles, lost arm and leg, and are happy beings who try out things. So there is and I don't say the one who survived that played a lot, but we do know that the one who can't deal with any setbacks often also doesn't have enough of a play instinct. So these are all things, and the list is long. So also you have better hormones when you play more, and also especially when you physically play, right. And especially when you fight with other guys or girls. With girls, fun, because it's healthy, good hormones, and you laugh a lot, and so. Play is therefore incremental to human life and quality of life. And it also gives aliveness, and it gives the possibility to see more than one options. So
how would you define play? Because it sounds like you often mention it in the context of also, pushing your boundaries, trying out new things, but sometimes it can also be very simple. So what is play, really? I guess that's my question.
Yeah, I was trying to go to your first question, but
sorry.
No, that's totally fine. Play, and I'm not a scientist, so I don't have a clear definition here. But I think everything is play where there's fluidity in the moment, not striving too much for a specific outcome. So in a play state, there's because also to prepare on these things, I saw a video where a ice bear meets a polar bear, meets a dog, and the polar bear is hungry, and the dog comes at the polar bear in a play state. And the polar bear shifts also to play state, and they play together. This is an amazing natural thing. And now that we start looking on it, there's an amazing amount of videos on YouTube where two mammals of different species play together or build up relations together. And often some kind of play is involved. So play creates relationships and also can take tension out of situation. Give a good example. There's a guy we just had talked about the bankers. There's a guy in a big corporation, and he has a nasty boss, and the boss walks to him in a big force and pushes him on the shoulder and says, "Can you go do this, clean the hallway?" I don't know what the exact order was, but it's a strict order. Now, what the guy does, I have to walk backwards for this.
Right.
So he gets this push on his shoulder, and Now, either he can resist, means fight with the boss, or he can go do it. I told you about this. What he does is this. And the boss starts to laugh.
Right.
And makes a weird, okay, and is powerless. And the guy gets away with this. That's also why the fool in the court of the king gets away with telling the truth, because he does, in a play state, he doesn't want to reach anything.
Right.
He shows the king what is without judgment.
It's a powerful tool.
So it's a fucking powerful tool. It's so therefore not having an objective. It is a state of mind. It is putting everything within your body, sense, mind, intuition open without controlling too much and reacting very spontaneously on whatever comes up. And it's often also an invitation to others to, if you're in a play state, to also play. And often you must know, you're young, so you play with a team, or you want to go to a field to play sports with people. And if you are, hey, who wants to do this, and you make a silly remark, then those that laugh about the remark or answer it are the ones who are willing to play.
Right.
No fun. Let's ignore those. So it's an immediately, sometimes play is also a very good tester to see who's fun and who's not. So if you want to know more what play exactly is, go look on a scientist or encyclopedia. Let's go to how can you improve your play state? Because if you have too little of it, you have a problem. We talked about this.
Right.
And it's a big chance that some people who are listening to this go, the guy is way too optimistic and too much and makes it too easy, and it's not serious. That's the people who have the problem. The ones that, finally, somebody says it. Yeah, of course I'm allowed to play. Those are the people who are longing for it, and it's already awake in them, I would say. And then I saw this TED talk on play, and this is also the trouble with play. So I go, be free and play. And after the talk, the moderator, so the person like you, can ask the questions. And he asked, it seems all free. How can we prevent it will not become too chaotic? That's immediately
He missed the point.
It's the point.
Right.
Open up for play means also there's also an end to play, or situations do not play. That's clear. I'm not saying play is everything or you should always play. I'm just saying the state of mind of play is very helpful also when you want to innovate in organizations, when you want to deal with stress, when you want to meet somebody. For women often, when we talk about relationships, a playful guy is a signal he's more safe. So if I come onto somebody, hello, what's your name? There's more. That's already more creepy. And so, okay, hello, how are you? I'm Floris. Yeah, that's of course. Perhaps she wants a more tougher guy. That's possible. Then I lost. It's an example. So how to increase it? One is to have inner attitude, to train your inner attitude, to say yes. When somebody calls you and say, hey, you want to go out tonight? Where to? Well, I'm invited by this motor club. Motor club? Well, say yes to a strange request and see what happens. It's all learning. I work best, so I give trainings also to companies and groups, and I work best when I'm a little bit on edge. So sometimes I give myself an assignment before I start to work with the group, so that I am on edge in the work, because I have to have this secret assignment I have to do.
Mm-hmm.
So once I give myself an assignment, this is all very strict high managers. And I have to do a little dance, silly dance, halfway the training, and get paid for it.
Nice.
That's not. And then before I was a little bit sweating and thinking what to do with this, and then halfway I got an awesome way out. It was so easy then that I thought, well, this was too easy.
Yeah.
Because I said, well, guys, we're talking here about how to present yourself and become more flexible and strong and more free. Now, if I do a silly dance,
That's nice. Yeah, that's clever.
and then it sounds suddenly very easy. But a better story is that I walk into a room and there's all managers, so I have to give a workshop on creativity to them, and they're all sitting like this.
Right.
And I think, oh my God, they're not in for it. So then what we see many trainers do is they start to fight for the attention. But I went completely the other way. I went for, okay, guys, you think I'm here to tell you how awesome creativity is, but I'm telling you, it's fucking dangerous. It's really a problem because too many creative ideas in organizations kill organizations. I mean, suppose you say to your employees, come up with ideas, guys, and they come up with ideas that you all have to say no to because they're not possible, and then they'll be disappointed or they disrupt the company. Creativity has to be applied within. And I see that all their eyes go, oh yeah, finally somebody's telling us. I knew creativity was dangerous because I think it's scary. Now, in my mind, I goes, oh fuck, because I had thought somebody would say, Floris, you can't mean this. This is not true. Are you kidding me? But no, they really thought creativity was scary.
That's a tough crowd.
Was a tough crowd. But once I said, so guys, because I remember the panic in my head, but at some point I had to switch them to, yes, creativity. So I remember switching to say, so guys, you might now notice that some of your fellow people here have all this, yeah, this makes sense. Oh yeah, creativity, dangerous. Yes, or that if you think about your employees, that they all would go, yeah, creativity, dangerous. Oh, so glad we don't have to be creative. But then you have a problem because innovation needs to happen, or your competitor will come up with new ideas, and you're too late if you can't respond. So creativity is essential to keep on improving your organization or to shift if the world changes. And like now with COVID, the organizations that kept doing things exactly as they always did have a problem. We all had to shift. And if you're not capable to shift, you have a problem. I had a good time at home. You know, it's a new situation, but then I start to do other stuff. Then I prefer to work with groups on the setting, on the spot. And if not, well, then let's try online things or make videos or design a game. I won't be sitting still.
Right.
So to improve that state is saying yes. There's sometimes to give it a go and dare to fail. It's okay to fail. You can say the wrong thing and then sorry. When you know, if I would insult you and you would feel it as a direct attack, that's different. But if I would say, I said fuck a few times because I'm so excited, and the word is such a great word, as is in pronunciation. You know, it has some zest to it, but zest is not a strong word as fuck. You know, also because of the connotations. But it's insultive to somebody. So everyone who hates me saying and using the word sorry,
I think you're good so far.
Yeah, and here's the thing, that sorry I can feel in other people, so I didn't really mean it because it's a great word. But dare to fail and apologize. You don't die from failure. And sometimes through failure, you discover, oh, that's nothing for me. Motor riding is for some people. And you may think, well, it looks cool on me, but perhaps it's not for you. And you have to find out at some point. Or other things. Or everybody, oh, Simon, you with that face, you should be on stage. And it might be that you discover the greatest joy of your life. But it might also be you discover it's not me.
Right.
And you don't die from that failure. I made a lot of failures. I try it. Sometimes I shout something online, and then sometimes people say, I don't agree. And sometimes I say, oh well, actually you have a point there. I'm won over. So it's good to try things out. A third thing is in play attitude is that you try to make other people shine. So what you're doing now to me is help me to shine on this stage by asking questions. And I use your guidance a little bit, because when you're smiling or fun or look interested, I think I'm on a roll here. But if you start to look bored for a moment, there now you were bored, yeah, then I think, So also the interaction does between performer and crowd. For many performers, it was very hard. You could see that some performers, if you look at late night show hosts who now had to do the shows alone at home, some succeed and others not, because it's a different vibe. And for some people, it's a great vibe to have an audience they can read. I can now look at you and see you think about this. So that's also play state, that I am alert to everything that's happening and try to integrate it in what's happening and what I do with it. And other things of play state is to, and here I'm going to give some tips. So if you have an idea, and also to get into more play state is iterate. So I said try things out and then tweak, keep on tweaking. Mm-hmm. Don't have the perfect plan. So in many organizations, people keep on talking about the plan until it's perfect. So John, what do you think? Well, if we do this, yeah, but then this can happen. Oh yeah, then this, and this is all seems like a fear of taking responsibility that it might go wrong. So if you try things out faster, you faster discover, oh, that was a silly idea that people respond like this, they respond like that. Okay, let's tweak that. Makes it much faster. So test, follow your curiosity. So if you are curious, research it, find it online. To keep my brains fluid, I look things on conspiracy theories. I look at things on quantum physics. I look at some things from religion. I look at historic channels. I look on how nature works, how trees talk to each other. So all these things together are input, and I don't do anything with it until my body says, yeah, that's almost like we're in a cult here, and then I can work with that. So nice. Follow your curiosity. Now, if you have an idea, and we're not yet there on how to get them, sometimes it's good to claim the opposite is true. So one of my best works, many things I invent, I do also social inventions, come out of a state of play. So I'm playing, and I try something out, and then suddenly I realize it actually works. So here's an idea, something I invented because of that. So at school, either they say to you, hey, Simon, you're very good at that, so why don't you make that your profession? Or they will say, Simon, your French is not good enough. You really have to catch it up, otherwise you're going to fail French. Yeah, and I thought, those are the two reactions, but what if we celebrate our weaknesses? And then I start looking at my life. Where did I actually make a lot of money with? And that was with my weaknesses. I got paid for my weaknesses. And in fact, many people have moments like this. So I'm very chaotic. Also in this talk, I had a plan. Where's the plan? It's gone, because now I'm on a roll, and I let the roll go. And I trust also you that you will steer me if you think, this is going totally out of the box or makes no sense anymore. So,
it's perfect for this talk. I mean, it's the perfect match, right? It's a playful conversation.
Exactly. Thank you. So now I feel confirmed, and I think, and I feel, let's go on. So let's claim the opposite is true. Weaknesses are awesome. So I designed a workshop on that because I started thinking in my own life, weaknesses are awesome. And then I made a workshop, how to make money with your weaknesses. And the first time I ever did that workshop, was in an old school bus. And the school bus fills up. There's about 16 people. And at some point, I noticed quite a few people crying. And that rarely happens to me in workshops. Mostly I can make people more fun and playful and excited and interaction. And it had to do with that the stories in the workshop was about accepting who you truly are. Because I'm very lazy. And what is lazy mean? In school, they will say, that's not good. You have to work hard. But as a lazy person, I always think, how can I do this simpler and easier? You see where this is going? If
Yeah.
that thought all the way time is there, I become more inventive and creative. Who invented the wheel? Was it A, the guy who loved to carry big rocks and sweat like an otter? Or was it the guy who thought, more rocks, what can we do? And he looks at something round and wonders, can we use that round thing to move the rocks?
Right.
I think the answer is obvious. So, and then in the workshop, I talked about, so I let everybody write down a weakness. And then we say, how could we frame it that would be positive? And we found that if you have the weakness of being very insecure, many insecure people actually are very sensitive. So they try to feel what will be the impact of my action on others. And I don't want to hurt others, often that sentiment they have. Now, actually, I think our world needs way more sensitive leaders who are wondering, who will be hurt if we take that decision? Also, CEOs of big corporations. Who will be hurt if we take that decision? That should be a normal question at the top. But no, we want decisive idiots, maniacs who take big cuts and hard decisions because they feel strong and like leaders. But that's not leadership. That's madness.
Right.
So suddenly this new idea of way of looking at leadership becomes possible because we went in the opposite direction. Or I know a guy said, yeah, Floris, but I'm very, very impatient. So how can I ever be a good coach? And I said, well, if you are very impatient, you should trade presentation skills, because as soon as you're bored, you go, I'm off, out, I'm bored. Then the other guy has to keep it interesting. And if you're very easily bored, you have to keep it very interesting. So you would be the best coach for presentation skills. And the first time I did this, there was a woman in the bus. She had the perfect story. She was like 50 plus, and she said, I go to yoga, and then I'm in a class with all these young sprites in the 20s and early 30s who can bend over in all directions. And there's me with my fat body, and I can't do half of what's expected in yoga class. And she started a blog called 100 Days of Yoga, in which she would tell her stories about how she felt horrible in yoga class as an older woman. And she became extremely popular by all the other women who had the same issue. And they asked her, can you be our yoga teacher? Because you understand how we feel and how hard it is to deal with this anxiety. I can't do the moves perfectly. And now she's a yoga teacher by not being good at it to the perfection that seemed or she expected to be expected. So that's how liberating to play with your weakness can be.
Yeah, it's not even a weakness anymore at that point. It's sort of
Exactly.
magical. The minute you say it out loud, it's gone.
Exactly, and for this woman, perhaps she's still not yet flexible as other yoga teachers or other young women, uh, as young women, basically often are. But she had bravery to be honest about her insecurities, and that's a form of leadership as well, or being seen, and that gave others trust. We can trust her because she's honest and she doesn't want us to be perfect because she understands this. And that make her, I think, a beautiful, strong yoga teacher. Now, then, if you have an opposite idea, then make it stick. So, for instance, I once were saying a lot, I'm very anti-democratic. Not that I want a dictatorship, it's a long story, but I said democracy is not good. And then people said, yeah, but what do you want? Back to the Middle Ages? So that was not a good thing. So then I found out, okay, I have to ask what comes after democracy. And once I had this question, I started to find out there's a lot of experiments around the world with what could be better democracy or better than democracy. So there's holacracy, participacy, sociocracy, Socratic conversations, etc. So all these things become visible once you ask the right question. So once you have an idea that's against the general grain, you have to find out how can I make it work. And for this, you have to look, seek, and find questions that help you find answers to the opposite. And then you can do, so another example I'm very proud of, I once invented what I call the counter for life questions. So I had a counter in an event in an old building. There was a real counter. It was an old court building, and there was a real counter. And I thought, let's do something behind this counter. And we call it counter for life questions. And who will give the answers was then the next question. And I came up with children. Children between 10 and 12 were put behind the counter to give adults answers to life questions. And I thought this also, it's a playful joke. It's a nice gimmick for this party we have in this big building. But after we opened, after 15 minutes, a woman comes to me and said, Floris, I need 6 months of therapy to admit the child is right.
Wow.
What the fuck is happening here? This is amazing. And then later I did it in other places because I learned, and what I teach the children is to only give the answer to the adult if you understand the question. Because if you don't understand the question, just try to be helpful, that doesn't work. Now, they had to be often even rude to adults. But more beautiful even is that I found out when I did at a festival, a group of 12 children really went for it. They got so empowered by it because most parents and adults think children will become something when you give them enough information and tests and trials, and then they become great. But what actually happened was that the children who were in the counter helping adults, they were really listened to by adults. They were thanked by adults. Thank you for helping me. Now, can you imagine how powerful and empowering that is for a child to feel, I matter, I have good ideas, I am of meaning, and I'm in control of the situation, because the adults come to the counter. I always put the counter in a place. So this is not so playful. This is really considering where everyone could see what would happen at the counter. You couldn't listen in, but you could see it. And it was forbidden for children to go anywhere with the adult. It had to happen at the counter or not, and both on both sides of the counter. And that's for safety. So it's not that I think just do this. No, you have to really consider it. But what it did to the children was amazing. And I think if we in education would also then therefore allow more children to help others and help society and come up with their own ideas and solutions, they come up with better ideas than most of us adults have. As we already see, as young children of 12 can invent apps that are better than, or this guy of 14 who came with the COVID website, now young people have also through TikTok and other ways means to show the world what they can do, and surprises that they're not just little empty vessels to be filled with our wisdom.
Right, but it's not always stimulated at schools or universities. Only until recently.
No, because they want to control the outcome. So a child needs to learn what is 1 + 1, even if the child is already at what's 127 times 370,000 root of 2. That's, some children are there. So then the teacher is in panic. So let's not go on educational. I'm also an educational innovator. Let's not go there.
Okay.
But let them play more in what they're good at. So another thing what you can do is to liberate yourself from your frustration. Anger is a great source, and frustration a great source for inventions. So if I really want to address an essential topic, I need to be two things. I need to, on one hand, feel it, being in touch with it. So like be angry. I'm angry about child abuse, for example, or I'm really angry about education, our educational system. The second is I must be free from it, free from my anger. So because if I go, yeah, and that's wrong, and that's then it makes me less convincing. It makes me that I push onto you my solution. You have to do my solution, because if you don't play, that's bad, Simon. You need to play more. That you should feel probably a little bit choked now.
Right. Yeah.
So but I'm angry at the system. But then I have to, by being free, I can come up with solutions. And one of the solutions was that I invented or co-founded 2 small entrepreneurial schools. One is now laying still and the other is gone. Happens. But they showed that we could come to new kinds of education. And they showed that it worked, because all our ex-students at school, we didn't have any testing. We only had an end presentation. That was it. But if you then look what they do after the school, none of them feel unemployed. That doesn't mean everyone has paid work, but they're all doing shit that they believe matters, is interesting, or may lead to an income or a profession.
Right.
And did you know, by the way, Simon, that every day currently about 75 new professions are invented?
I had no clue. You're the first to tell me.
Yeah, web designer is a normal job for you, but when I was young, that didn't exist. Network manager didn't exist. So all new tools, apps, and technologies create also new professions of people who are experts at working with them and or teaching others and knowing the way. Very soon, you also need a website guide who can help you find the website you're looking for, because there's so incredibly many that also pay Google to be on top of the list. So what you're looking for might not be anymore at the top of the list. Mm-hmm. So invent the new out of frustration, and you might even turn it into a job.
You turn your anger into passion, I guess, right? So
yes.
It's not your anger anymore. It's a drive.
Under anger often is love. I love young people to be alive and feel alive and shine, because I love to shine myself, and I felt dead in high school. So this anger about me feeling dead in high school creates me being wanting to feel alive, and that makes that I'm still playful, try to be playful and play with things and options and question things as they are. And that's threatening to some, but those that like me like it become my clients. So and they find me often. I'm not so much looking. So that makes me also very rich, not in money, but in opportunities, and do things that I really care about. Then I already said it. Take your joke seriously, because if I play with things like this counter for life questions and it works, then I am onto something, and I have to not see it as a joke anymore or as a gimmick, but as something real that can be applied elsewhere or in other situations. So I once did a workshop where people could play for guru for a bit. So whoever wanted to sit on the guru chair could sit on the guru chair, and we would find out together with all the participants who could be the guru. And I thought this is a one-time joke workshop, because at a certain festival I sometimes did joking workshops where we just could try things. But actually, this workshop also turned out to be a beautiful workshop on what makes it that we believe somebody when they talk as an authority. Mm-hmm. What is it in their tone? What is it in how they respond to questions? What is it? Where does it come from in the body? Because not everything, I'm not talking to you, but not everything comes from the brain or my overview. It also comes from, I get this impulse, my hand is moving, and now I can do something with it. Now, I don't know what to do with it now, and I have no good ideas, and I let it go, and that was a failure, and I don't die. So I'm living, then I walk the path. Another thing is that if you want to become more playful, you have to accept trouble. So if trouble comes, you will be misunderstood in life. You will be sabotaged or not taken seriously. And sometimes I am now taking seriously about play, because now scientists start to really sound the alarm about play deprivation. It is essential. It kills people. Everyone who commits suicide probably doesn't know how to play with the situation. They see the situation as dead serious, and that's tragic, inherently very tragic. So, and when I have been a game inventor for management games, so 8 of the 10 ideas were shot dead in the water, and that's okay, because my manager had to think, how do I sell it? I just had to come up with ideas. So by not minding too much about what happened to them and but come up with idea after idea, and then see what idea is alive, what has chemistry, what makes your eyes twinkle. You know, if I give you 10 ideas for a game and your eyes twinkle at none, 10 bad ideas. But if you start asking what one of the ideas a little bit more, or say, first, how would you do that? You know, I know also I'm onto something. And if it's dead, that's okay. And then 2 big scientists, Einstein said play is the highest form of research. So play. And Richard Feynman, he's less known, but he's regarded by many also one of the biggest scientists of the 20th century. He said, if you research something, do it in the most chaotic, irreverent way possible. Because irreverence means that you don't put it on a pedestal. You have to look at it from all sides. And in the way of the fool, that's something I sometimes work with. You could say that's an alchemistic path. We say the only sacred cow is irreverence. And irreverence, it's not well known. For all Dutch people, it means de enige heilige koe is alles serieus te nemen. Of je mag overal mee spotten. It's okay to ridicule everything. So these are some things that all help you to become more playful. And by working on them, you can do inventions or innovate your organization, innovate yourself, come up with new job professions. So just out of curiosity, do you know, because I'm really playful, do you know how many job titles I've used throughout my life?
Tell me.
99.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I will say it's not handy. It's too much. So that's a failure. But
It's chaotic.
I give myself the freedom to invent new ones, but it helped me at some point. Suddenly I could help other people find their job title. So one of my titles is job title coach. So because most people are more one-dimensional than it, and now suddenly my luck is also, because I play with so many things, a new word is making the rise. It's the polymath or the generalist. So in a segmented world where everybody is in their own line, even scientists say if you have the science of biology and the science of chemistry, in between is so much ground to discover, and now slowly start to discover it. And here you need polymaths or generalists or people who try everything to see shit, and that's connected to quantum physics, because leaves have quantum physics capabilities. And suddenly our brains start to explode, because nature doesn't have strict lines. This belongs to that and that belongs to this.
I've seen this happen in my own life recently, actually, with because I'm in computer science, and I got in touch with museums and the cultural heritage sector.
Yeah.
And they seem like opposite worlds, but once you put them together, I mean, the coolest things happen. I mean, it's insane. It's the multidisciplinary projects I've worked on are always the most exciting, because you have such different mindsets, such different backgrounds, that all of a sudden it merges to become something really great, and something that I could never think of on my own or with my computer science friends. So I completely subscribe to this as well.
Yes, and to give another example is lateral thinking. So once there were scientists who had to think about problems with traffic jams, and one of them said frog. So frog has nothing to do apparently with traffic jams. Now, if you combine those, frogs have a lot of interesting ideas what's possible, how to solve traffic jams. One is make cars that jump across other cars or across the fences, so they can also go in the land. Bit difficult to invent, but a nice option. Another was learn patience. Frogs can sit very patient, so teach people patience, and they can sit behind the wheel and be bored like shit, and things happen. That's also a possibility. And then one said, oh yeah, and you can make cars that have a tongue and that stick to the other car in front of them, and then they all drive at the same speed. And I don't know if that actually happened, but we now have cars that will tune in through transmission computer to exactly the same speed. And if they all drive exactly the same speed, we can have more cars on the same piece of street. So an apparently crazy idea then becomes something that is applicable. So that's another way of thinking about creative things, is come up with a crazy, not related topic, and then try to combine them. And you, as you just told me, I like your story, is how that can lead to new things and new inventions and possibilities. And give a museum, if you start to work for a museum, something unique that other museums don't have, because they still have only paintings, for instance.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's very inspiring for me, because I really saw a lot of my own life stories in there, that most of the experiences that were a little bit out of my comfort zone or were just very strange in general were always the best experiences. So I do always try to say yes. And my thesis topic for my master's is actually inspired by almost pure anger at museums, because I always felt left out. They only had the title, they only had the artist, and I never understood the stories there. So that inspired me to actually sort of change it around. Instead of being angry and thinking, what can I do with my artificial intelligence skills to maybe make this a little bit more easy. And then when you start talking to people and admit, like, I have no idea what I'm doing in art museums. I mean, I always look at these abstract paintings and I don't know what they mean. And everyone starts admitting, like, me neither, you know, I'm just standing there. It looks nice, but I am curious to know what the story is. So all of a sudden, you have a master's thesis, which is super cool. So maybe in a year's time, I will follow your advice to create something cool.
Yeah, for instance, if I'm then in an app, I must be able to ask a question, and perhaps the painting will answer, or I have augmented glasses, and then the painter pops up and he tells me what he meant by it. Or we see somebody else and saying, this painting is not understood by 99% of all people who watch it. But on average, they stay longer in front of this painting than of the other paintings in this room. Now, ask yourself, why is that?
Right. Well, you have a lot of great ideas. I'm afraid we should already stop the call, even though,
Wow.
Yeah, we're already past 8:30. It went by really quickly, but thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did.
I did. I loved, and I felt very happy to discover I can do this on a roll. So without looking at my notes on I looked partially. I did not look on notes. So during part, I looked at some notes and then spoke about them. But most, I'm connected to this material, so that makes me also happy. Hey, I know my stuff, and and I'm living it. And I hope everyone who's listening to this, because that's of course the point, that you try to become more playful, that you understand how important this is for your life, but also other people's life, and how important it is that play gets more integrated in education and also in organizations if you want to be flexible, alive, and deal with big upheavals or big changes.
I think it's a beautiful message, and it might just change the world. So, Floris, thank you very much, and I hope to keep in touch with you.
I hope so too. Bye,
Okay.
Simon, and good luck with the rest of the camping.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye.